to NRL 360 Rugby League from every angle, all thanks to NIB. Joining me again, Gordon Tallis. Let's get the journos straight in. James Hooper and Michael Carianis. Huge news today, groundbreaking news in the NRL that has rocked the game. The RLPA have come out today and on behalf of every player have put a boycott on all media until the issue is resolved. Let's have a look at the media boycott. No pre-match interviews, no halftime interviews, no post-match interviews, no post-match press conference, no media in the dressing rooms, no media in mixing zones, no direct communication with media via a player's mobile phone or social media, and it begins Thursday, July 6th. What was our take on this?
Well, I don't like it. I've been here before where the players, we've done this, we've tried to be really strong. I think it was in the early 2000s where Dave Gallop was the boss and we boycotted. You would have been playing. Myself and Freddie were probably the senior players. I was captain of Queensland. It didn't help the game back then. It doesn't help the players, and for one, it doesn't help the fans because they're the ones that suffer the most.
Well, that cost Craig Gower a Dally M medal that year because you blokes all didn't want to go to that event, and as a result the NRL called it off, never awarded that medal. But look, to the news today, Braith, it's just lunacy. It's let the game down, and most importantly, it's robbing the fans.
Yeah, it's a shock, it's a surprise, and some of the best moments for fans is when they're sitting at home in their lounge room watching their side win or lose and watching all those reactions, and now they've been robbed of that opportunity. Yeah,
I think it was a shock to all of us. Now, RLPA CEO, Clinton Newton, broke the news of the player boycott at a snap press conference in Sydney this afternoon.
Over the past 20 months, we have seen a disturbing pattern of behaviour from the NRL and the RL Commission. What we have seen is a failure to respect the role of the players. I want to be clear that we have been forced into this position. And importantly, our issue is not with the media. The only choice we are left with is to take action. We made concessions, we engaged in good faith, and we presented a settlement proposal that did not ask for a single dollar more than what had already been agreed upon in December. This player action is about safeguarding the integrity of the NRL and NRLW competitions and standing up for what's right. As one of the leaders in our game, I'm fearful and concerned about the trajectory of our game. Let us not forget, our game is the only game in world sport that started due to players' and workers' rights and a dispute that happened more than 100 years ago. Well, here we are again. The players need to be paid, what they're owed, pre-COVID reductions, and we need a long-form CBA in place. This is about ensuring that we have a CBA in place for both our male and female players. The reality is come October 31 this year, there is no CBA in place. That will be a first of its kind since CBAs came in place in rugby league more than 20 years ago. We want a fair deal. And we want to ensure that the player rights are protected. Do we think it's fair that the game can introduce more matches without agreement rights for the players? Do we think it's fair that the game takes control and we need to seek agreement on where the funds are distributed into the player funds and services, including how we run and our operations? The fans, again, as I said, are front and centre here. Players are deeply connected to the community. But again, I ask you, what's the alternative? Accept something that, if we were to accept this today, you wouldn't be waking up tomorrow and being proud of it. This is a player-led decision, and we're right behind that. We don't want to be here. But the point is the fact that at some point in time, you have to actually stand up for something you believe in and you say, no, this is enough.
Okay, let's head straight to NRL headquarters now. NRL CEO Andrew Abdo is standing by. Andrew, thanks for joining us, especially on such short notice and after a busy afternoon. How did you find out about this and were you shocked?
Yeah, good evening. Look, it's disappointing, right? Because ultimately the action that's been proposed means that our broadcast partners and our fans and our partners and our sponsors are the ones that are going to suffer. So I watched it unfold this afternoon as you did. and I received a short email just prior to the RLPA announcement this afternoon.
Andrew, what is it that the players are asking for that supposedly you aren't giving them?
Well, that's a good question, and I was listening intently this afternoon to try and better understand that. I spoke earlier today, and I'd like to take the opportunity to speak on it again. This is a landmark deal that the Commission has carefully considered. We've been listening to the players. We've spent thousands of hours in negotiations. We've worked with the clubs who have been terrific in being constructive around how we can offer ultimately a landmark deal for the players. We're talking about a 37% increase in player payments and benefits. We're talking about a significant increase in minimum wage going to $150,000 by the end of the term. We're talking about a number of improvements to both financial and non-financial terms and conditions, including additional agreement rights, including the creation of a number of funds to support the players, where we have worked with the RLPA to enable this. We have a signed NRLW term sheet, and we're on the brink of another exciting NRLW season. So we have agreement for the female players for the next 5 years with the RLPA. It is frustrating that we're not in a position where enough is enough. We can finalise this deal, document it, and we can all get on with helping grow the game, celebrating the game. We've had another terrific, exciting season, and the credit has to go to the players and the clubs for putting on an incredibly exciting premiership. So we should be focusing on our customers, and we should be focusing on growth.
Andrew, do you feel as though the Rugby League Players Association is essentially holding a gun to the NRL's head, and how quickly could this be resolved?
We won't be bullied, or we won't be threatened. The reason we have an independent commission, it was set up to think about what's in the best long-term interests of the game overall for all stakeholders, to always act in the best interests of the game overall. We cannot say yes to everything. So the Commission will obviously now carefully consider what's been placed in front of us this afternoon. It's all obviously relatively new. Absorb that and make a call on what happens next. But again, I'll go back to the fact that this is an incredibly strong and positive deal and outcome for the players, one that's been carefully considered and thought through. We've been working with clubs. The Commission have listened. We've reduced a number of the changes that we had ambitions for example, reforming the trade window in an attempt to get this deal finalised. So I think, overall, am I disappointed that we're in this situation? Of course. But enough is enough. We do need to now focus on what's in the best interest of the game overall.
Andrew, with the players not fulfilling their broadcast commitments, are they in breach of their contract, and can the NRL take any action?
Look, that's something that we'll have to carefully consider offline, Michael. I'm not going to go into the details of that right now. There are a number of considerations at play here in terms of the obligations of all stakeholders in our contracting network. So I'm not going to speculate on that or certainly go into detail on that right now.
Hey Andrew, it's Gordon Tallis here. Normally when you negotiate, you sort of can sense when it starts breaking down. Did you know that this was coming?
Well, this has been a long process, Gordy. We've been talking and working with the RLPA for a number of months now. It's been well documented. We've had a very skilled and experienced independent facilitator attempting to help us. And it's been a case of taking some steps forward and then, unfortunately, a step or two back. We've reached agreement on key matters, only for that to be changed with the next iteration. So, I am disappointed in terms of what was announced today and the action that's going to be taken, because I do believe that ultimately this is a deal that should be celebrated. And again, I'll go back to the fact that we're talking about a 37% increase in player payments, a salary cap that's going up 25%, and the introduction of increased leave, better terms and conditions for the players, the creation of funds to help the players post their playing career, and certainly an improvement in the presence of the RLPA at the table to engage with and consult with on key matters.
Andrew, talking to a few of the players and people at the RLPA, they say it's not actually about the money, it's more about the players' rights. They're happy with the salary cap, they're happy with the minimum wage, but it's the retirement fund, the injury hardship fund, medical support fund, well-being and education. It seems to be a roadblock. Can you explain a little bit further why that is a roadblock in these negotiations?
Yeah, well, that's surprising because we have agreed to, and in our proposal, we have specified the creation of all of these funds as agreed with the RLPA. We're supportive of it. So in our proposal, we have over $10 million going to the subset of funds that you mentioned, an injury hardship fund that'll be capitalised to the tune of $9 million. We've created a general hardship fund where both the RLPA and the NRL will co-contribute to it. So we have agreed to the establishment of these funds, and we have agreed to the allocation of capital to these funds. What we haven't agreed to, what the Commission has said is, because this is a significant amount of money, there needs to be agreement over the governance of these funds. And I think the Commission, as the independent body that administers the game, has and certainly has the responsibility to ensure that these funds are appropriately administered. It's important also to note that whilst the Players Association today said that they'd not asked for more money, in the offer we've made, we had earmarked an allocation of funds for representative payments, for the creation of and the revitalisation of the international calendar. We want to see test matches at the end of the year. And we'd set aside a small amount of funds that are the players' funds to go for players, to go to players who are representing their country here in the Southern Hemisphere. And these are registered NRL and NRLW players. And the RLPA have come back to us and said that that should be excluded from the player payment pool in our offer. So there are elements here that still need to be agreed that do go to the heart of money. It might be that we agreed on minimum wage and salary cap, but importantly, we want to see the international game flourish, and that was in our offer. And importantly, we have agreed to allocate funds to all of these funds, but we have agreed to a joint governance model on many of these. And I think that that is the right thing for the Commission to do.
Andrew, Clint Newton said one of the sticking points was around the number of games that players can play, and the fact that the RLPA is saying they don't have a say in an extended season. Can you clarify that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. In our offer, we put forward that any material changes need to be agreed by the RLPA. Any material changes to the season structure or the number of games. So if we're going to introduce more than 2 games we use as a threshold, then we need the RLPA agreement on that. However, we do need to maintain the flexibility around the season, around how the season is structured. But clearly, if there's going to be significantly more games, that's something that the players have every right to sit down at the table and agree to. And we introduced a threshold of 2 games for that. So I am surprised by that comment, because we have provided for player agreement for when there's material change in workload. And importantly, the players will get consulted on any changes that are made that impact them.
Thanks for joining us, Andrew. We really appreciate your time. Good luck with negotiations moving forward with the RLPA.
Thank you.